Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today to the 5 ways to increase sales and reduce costs for online businesses. I am Kim Rowell. I am the Marketing Director, Marketing Communications Director at BlueSnap. We have a couple of great speakers lined up for us today. Both have great in-depth knowledge about global payments, selling online, and reaching global customers. So Terry Monteith is our SVP of Payments, and she joins us in the Waltham office today. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning.
And Brad Hyatt, I always say your last name wrong, is the Managing Director of Europe, who normally be joining us from London, but is also here in Waltham. So,
hi, Good morning.
So I just want to walk everyone through the agenda today and what we can expect in the next 25-30 minutes. So we're going to walk through the market and the opportunity that we are seeing with global and mobile growth to increase sales and reduce costs. And then we are going to dive right into the 5 ways that you can do that. We've got some great tips and tricks for you. And then we'll cover a better payment platform, so what we think is the answer to those 5 ways. And then we'll end with some Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll take them at the end. And as I mentioned, we hope to be done in about 25 minutes. And we're also recording this, so I will send this around at the end. Probably by the end of the week, you'll see that in your inbox. So just a brief company snapshot. So BlueSnap is a better way to accept payments in 180 countries. We are based in Boston, which is where we are broadcasting from today. We have offices in London, Silicon Valley, and Tel Aviv, and we have thousands of customers. Recently, we just received the Best E-commerce Platform Gateway Award from the CMP Expo, so we're really pleased about that. So with that, I will turn it over to Terry, who's going to walk us through the market.
Great. Thanks, Kim. So we always think the market is a good place to start, and I don't think anyone is surprised to see that there's massive growth going on in the space that we're in. On the global B2C commerce side, by 2020, this market is actually expected to be over 3 trillion euros. And what we think is as interesting, but maybe less noticed in the market, is that the global B2B e-commerce side of the business, while growing at a slower rate, actually represents a higher dollar opportunity, almost 6 trillion euros by 2020. And all of this growth is being fueled by mobile, which is pretty obvious, but also by more businesses selling cross-border, so selling to shoppers or buyers outside of your local domicile. And in total, this gives us a huge market opportunity, all of us, of over 9 trillion euros. And this rapid expansion is what we believe is driving what we're calling the next generation of payments and gateways, or Gen 3. So why don't we jump into that. So this is really BlueSnap's view of the market, and we want to talk about where we see things going with Gen 3, but to do that, it's helpful to kind of look back and see where we started. So to offer payments in what we call the Gen 1 world back in the 90s, there was really only one option if you wanted to accept card payments, which is you went to a bank yourself, you opened a merchant account, and then you signed up with a gateway like a CyberSource, for example, who would give you a very basic set of capabilities to connect to that bank. The real innovation in this market came with what we call Gen 2 in 2009, and this is when some of the providers like the Stripes and the Braintues of the world came in and said, you know what, we're going to try to make this really easy for startup businesses to start accepting card payments online. So they said, what if we could give someone a merchant account and a really easy set of APIs to connect to deliver their card payments. So really what they did is make it very simple to enable what we'll call regional card processing, for someone to accept cards in the country where they were located. But as time went on and the market was exploding, the startups were growing and they needed more functionality, and other businesses wanted to get in on this opportunity to offer more capabilities and take advantage. And this brings us to Gen 3, which we call Payments as a Service, which is an all-in-one platform where business can come and basically build an Amazon-like experience for their customers So get all the functionality, all the banking relationships, all the integration needed to really capitalize on the opportunity around mobile and cross-border sales. So as we are out in the market and we're talking about Gen 3, we've seen a number of trends come up, and this is where we've come up with these 5 ways that we really feel, based on what we've seen, that people can increase their sales and reduce their cost with their online business. Great. So I'm just going to hit these high level right now, and then we'll drill into each one of them. The first one is being able to accept payments from more channels, from multiple channels, to increase your sales. The second is to take advantage of more than one acquiring bank and take advantage of global acquiring banks as well around the world. The third, for those of you selling internationally, is to make sure you're always offering a local payment experience, which will make people stay on your site, lose less sales. The fourth is to integrate fraud prevention and chargeback management, because unfortunately, as the market is growing, so is fraud. And the fifth is to get as much data as you can about your business in order to make decisions about how to continue to increase sales and reduce cost. So let's drill into each one of these. So accepting payments in multiple channels. We spend a lot of time with merchants and do a lot of research, and we find that 68% of the businesses that we talk to are already providing multiple ways for their buyers to come in and make payments to them. But the unfortunate part and the issue this presents is that of those, 80% of them say they have to go to multiple gateways or multiple providers to make this happen. So if you're going one place to offer online, another to get subscriptions, another vendor to provide your virtual terminal, pretty soon your cost of supporting these systems and integration is very high. So reducing cost by going to a single location to accept all these multiple types of payments can definitely bring your costs down, and also offering more ways to accept payments, of course, will increase your sales. So let's talk individually about what we mean by each of these. So online and mobile checkout is really kind of the baseline that you need, right, in order to support your business. And your whole goal here is getting people on your site, and by doing some pretty simple things like optimizing your site for mobile payments, or creating local experiences with language and currencies for your international shoppers. These are all things that will keep people on your site, keep your buyers on your site, so you're less likely to lose sales. Another trend that we believe is serving these same needs is what we call invoice payments. So we're seeing, imagine a manufacturer invoicing a supplier, or a winery invoicing their club members through a subscription. So instead of manually collecting all of these payments and updating card information, if an invoice could be sent out and embedded in that is a link for them to easily pay you, either online or on their mobile device, then it makes the process very simple to collect those payments online. So we're finding thousands and thousands of businesses taking advantage of that and reducing their cost of manually collecting these payments. Subscription. So across our pretty large base of merchants here, we have found that more and more are using subscriptions to sell. In fact, we've seen an increase of about 30% across the companies that we're working with. And obviously, offering subscriptions is a way to increase sales, creates a recurring revenue stream. To do that, of course, you need a flexible subscription engine that offers features like, weekly or monthly subscriptions, the ability to maybe offer a coupon or a free trial or some type of other offer. And very critical, and also saving time and money, is rather than have to go and update outdated card information manually, having a subscription service that offers an account updating feature where automatically expired card information or stolen cards that have been replaced with new cards gets updated automatically. And if you can roll into that, offering local payment methods. So not every place is card friendly, like in some of the countries. For example, in the Netherlands, the most popular way to make payments is with an online payment system called Ideal. So if you can roll in those local methods as well, again, you're more likely to hang on to these buyers and increase your sales. Next, some popular ways also to get products in the market, marketplaces, which are connecting buyers and sellers globally right now. But these require some special functionality. So if a marketplace has sellers, they need to be able to take some commission for themselves and then be able to split payments among multiple vendors. So unique functionality that can support that model. We're also seeing a lot of platform providers, maybe someone selling a system to run a school or a daycare center and saying, wouldn't it be great if I could make it easy for my parents to make payments online and embed the payment right into the platform itself. So many people needing specific functionality to support the marketplaces and the platforms. And finally, the fifth way is a strong virtual terminal offering to take orders over the phone, to be able to set up subscriptions on the fly when you have someone talking to you. So if you look across these 5 ways to make payments, all of them give you the ability to increase sales. And by being able to go to one spot to get access to all of these services through what we've called Gen 3, can significantly reduce your expense of delivering these payment offerings to your buyers. Okay. So our second cost-saving tip is global acquiring banks. So a couple things happen with global acquiring banks. First of all, a number of you are probably already working with multiple banks, and of course that's another expense of maintaining all those different relationships and integration and connections. Right now we're seeing about 81% of our merchants are selling globally. And the fact is, if you're selling globally and you're still using just one local bank in your area, it's costing more money. It costs more money to process transactions from overseas in a local bank. And the numbers show that a local bank might be less likely to actually accept a payment if it's presented from outside of their country. So you might see more what we call credit card declines or debit card declines happening. So by working with banks around the world, going to a provider who can help you with this, you're going to maximize your card success rates, and you're also going to be able to reduce your cost. Now, working with multiple banks gives you benefits and complexity. So if we move to the next slide, what we see here is you're going to want a provider that is going to be able to basically route transactions to the right bank to optimize payment success and reduce cost. And what you're really looking for, we find that will save you money, is if you can sign one contract, get one account that connects you to these multiple banks, you're going to get huge benefits. So first of all, you're just simply going to get redundancy. I can't say how many times we've talked to merchants who work with providers with single banks who say, my bank had a problem, they weren't processing last night, so they miss a subscription run and they miss collecting their payments, or they miss getting paid out themselves. So if you have multiple banks, you always have a backup. Also, the numbers also show that you could try to process a transaction at one bank, and if it fails, it might be successful when you go to the second bank, and people can pick up 3 to 5% of sales in that way. And then these systems also do things like help with reconciliation. If we normalize reports across all of those banks, it makes you have to spend less time and less money doing your administrative reconciliation and reporting tasks. Okay, our third area is global payments. As we said, with 81% of businesses selling globally now, sales can be increased by offering a local experience. So when the buyer gets to your checkout page, you want them to feel comfortable there and not abandon and not make the purchase. So localization is things like language on the screen, things like payment type. So as we said, not every place is card accepting. So in addition to some of the online methods we talked about, like Ideal in the Netherlands and online payments like Sofort in Germany, we also have places, things like Alipay wallets in China and SEPA debit payments in the EU. And in addition to that, we've got 35% of businesses now offering wallets. So you want to also have the ability to offer different wallets like Apple Pay or Visa Check It or MasterPass to keep the buyers on your site. And finally is currencies. You want people paying in local currencies, and that's for a couple reasons. One is that it just makes you more comfortable to pay in the currency that you're used to, so you're less likely to abandon the site because you're worried about what it's going to cost you. But secondly, again, the numbers show that a bank is more likely to approve a card transaction if the currency it's presented in is the same as the currency the card is issued in. So that will also help to increase your sales overall. Okay, so unfortunately, as we said, with the growth of the market comes a large growth in fraud. So fraud losses are projected to soar about 80% to over $7 billion in 2020, and mobile transactions are twice as likely to be impacted. So it's really important to have an integrated fraud prevention and chargeback solution early in your sales process. And this does a couple things. If you have the right solution integrated, they're going to provide you the right balance of preventing fraud but not decreasing sales by rejecting too many transactions, so you can increase your sales. And secondly, stopping chargebacks before they happen, getting pre-notifications on those chargebacks so that you have the opportunity to refund, saves you the expense of the chargeback, and also the process of disputing that. So many ways to keep your sales up, protect your revenues, and keep your costs down with an integrated fraud prevention solution. And finally, tying all of this together is a single place to get reporting or payment analytics into a BI on all of these transactions that we're talking about. So getting as much sales intelligence, as much reconciliation data, payment success reporting, and marketing information in a single location that you can access in the way you want to access via API or through a portal or even on your mobile device. So, and I would say that, in addition to getting all this data from your provider to help you know what's going on, it's important that you expect that they'll help you interpret the data to understand more how you can increase sales and reduce your costs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brad to talk about how BlueSnap is approaching Gen 3.
Okay, so at BlueSnap, we have created this all-in-one payment platform, and it's been created around those 5 areas of increasing revenues and reducing costs. And that enables us to offer payments as a service to our customers and partners. So we have, as you'd expect, the online and mobile checkout. We have an ability to embed those payment links that Terry was talking about into invoices. We can utilize split settlement to support platforms and marketplaces. And we have a subscription engine all incorporated into the solution to support the ever-growing subscription economy. And then for taking payments over the phone or in store, we have the virtual terminal and working on a point-of-sale solution. We've then taken that all-in-one payment platform, plugged it into more than 20 banks around the world. So with BlueSnap, you only need one account, and we give you access to all of those banks. We then use the intelligent payment routing module to route those transactions to the bank which is most likely to convert that transaction. That means sending US traffic through a US bank, European traffic through a European bank, and that really ensures that those conversions are as high as possible. We then incorporate more than 100 different global payment types, more than 130 currencies, and all different types of B2B payment options. It means it gives a localized experience on a global scale. We've also incorporated the e-wallets like Apple Pay, Visa Checkout, and PayPal to really make the experience as frictionless as possible. And we've incorporated a fraud stack with our partner Count to optimize the level of fraud that's running through a business. No one wants to reduce their fraud to zero. It probably means their rules are too restrictive. And Count can really specialize in optimizing the level of fraud that's coming through. We then link out to Chargebacks 911 for automated dispute management. We see a lot of merchants who, even though they're fighting chargebacks, they're not doing it successfully because they're not using the right amount of data, they're not submitting the the chargeback in the right time scale, or they're not submitting it to the acquirer in the format that they require it. So Chargebacks 911 is a specialist in this area. And then we include a payment analytics and reporting app that enables you to make the best business decisions in comparing and contrasting your traffic and payment types. We then made it really easy to implement BlueSnap by integrating with a lot of big name partners. So if you're using Salesforce or BigCommerce, Magento, we have a couple of thousand different integrations so that it really makes it easy to switch BlueSnap on and use the various tools which we've incorporated into that. And going back to the three generations of payments, Terry talked through the complexities of multiple gateways in multiple regions. We've seen as people using as many as 27 different payment gateways where they've started up in new countries, used a local supplier, and then they've reached a point where that's no longer maintainable and manageable, and they want to reduce the amount of effort to stay on top of the integrations. Every time there's a change in PCI compliance or a new global payment type, they have to update those integrations over and over again. On top of that, they may then also be linking out to multiple other providers like billing engines, subscription platforms like Zuora. They may have a marketplace solution with separate integrations to the e-wallets and then an additional reporting tool on top of that. And moving to generation 3, what BlueSnap does is rolls that all into a single partnership, a single integration, and these are some of the customers that we've moved from generation 1 to generation 3. So what we would say is, as a merchant, you should be expecting more from your payment provider and really hitting all 5 of those elements of increasing revenues and reducing costs.
Awesome. All right. So I think we have a few minutes for questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit them via the chat at the bottom right hand of your control panel. We had a couple that came in that we'll cover right now as you guys submit them. So the first one is, I operate in 3 regions today. How many merchants account would I need?
So ideally, if you came to us, we would set you up probably with 5 or 6 merchant accounts, because we'd want to give you a couple in each region for, as we talked about, redundancy and failover, and then also give you the broadest ability to process transactions globally, get the most success, and reduce the cost as much as we can. But we would also work with you to understand really where you're, as you say, you're operating in 3 regions, where exactly you're selling, and what your optimum solution would be.
But it's one account for BlueSnap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Regardless of the merchant accounts, right, keep in mind that it's one account, one contract with BlueSnap, and we manage all of the merchant accounts on your side.
Awesome. How does currency conversion work with BlueSnap? We talked a lot about the importance of offering different currencies for shoppers. How does that work with BlueSnap?
So we really offer the merchant the ability to do this in any way that they want to. So they can set the pricing in the various currencies that they want to accept, or we can give them the ability to set their price in a single currency and offer multiple currencies to whichever markets and currencies the customers will be familiar with.
So another one came in, we talked about fraud. So our fraud restrictions are too tight. How does BlueSnap handle getting more transactions through without allowing fraud?
Okay, so we see this all the time where usually in-house fraud systems are too restrictive, and the amount of traffic that's coming through is, although the fraud is very low, it's really killing the conversion. So this is one of Count's specialist areas where they can work with merchants. We have 3 different flavors of the fraud offering. One which is all wrapped into the solution, and all merchants are operating under the same set of fraud rules. Then there's the ability for your team as a merchant to set those fraud settings in different ways depending on your business type. And the final way is to allow Count to do that on your behalf. So having a specialist fraud provider really optimizing what you feel is a comfortable level of fraud for your business while getting through as many transactions as possible.
And then we have one more. So our in-house chargeback team is often not successful. Why is that?
So I kind of touched on this in the presentation. It's often around acquirers will require the chargeback information in a very specific format and within a very specific time frame, and they need a certain level of data to successfully fight the chargeback. And not all acquirers are asking for the same elements. So even if a chargeback expert is familiar with one acquirer and how to successfully fight them there, they may not be familiar with the requirements of all acquirers. And that's where Chargebacks 911 come in. They really know exactly how to deliver, what to deliver, and when to deliver to ensure that you get as many successful disputes as possible.
Okay. So I think that covers everything today. I want to thank everyone for joining us and thank Brad and Terry for being with us this morning. As I mentioned, I will be sending the recording around to everybody, so keep an eye in your inbox for that in the next couple of days. So thanks, everybody.